everyone. I am coming to you with a special video. My husband is going to kill me because I don't have like my lights and everything, but I really wanted to get this out. I was watching a series called Why I Don't Go to Church from the Jude 3 Project. I highly recommend that you watch it yourself. And what I saw on the series was that there was this African American male who had grown up in a traditional black denomination his whole life, and he had this what I call same sex desires or same sex attractions, and he was kind of like felt like there was no place for that in his church. So how do I walk out a faithful life with following Jesus and have these desires that are very strong? And it led me to thinking that a lot of the participants said that when it came to the issue of homosexuality, like there was no space for questions. You just kind of had to pray it away and get that out of you. And what it made me think is that, is there a place in the black church, or is there language really in the traditional black church for people who struggle, who are attracted to the same sex? And in my experience, and I am trying to be very careful with my language because I've not been to every traditional black church. I've not been in every traditional black denomination. I was raised in an AME church. And then I went to a non-denominational church that kind of had a Pentecostal background. But say all that to say, in those spaces, I did not hear language that delineated between the attraction to someone of the same sex versus the engaging of that sin. And I'll call the engaging of that sin like a homosexual or a gay lifestyle. We typically just hear like, oh, this person's gay. But I believe for the person who loves Jesus, all of us are called to deny ourselves, take up our cross, and die daily. We are called to die to ourselves. All of us have disordered desires. So because sin has infected all of humanity, all of us want things that we shouldn't want, and we don't want God, and we don't want his way, which is what we should want. And so all of us have to die to ourselves. Now, I want to say right here and right now that I do think people who struggle with same-sex attraction have a lot to lay down. And I do think it is different. I don't think that the sin is different. Hear me say that. But I do think some of the things that people who are attracted to the same sex and who want to follow Jesus faithfully, some of the things that they may have to lay down, like getting married or having children, is very different than a heterosexual who has to lay down other desires like career. So I want to say that. But the main point of this video is I really want to call my brothers and sisters who are still very active in their traditional black churches to make space for people who are struggling with same-sex attraction, who say, I want Jesus more than that. Make a space in our churches for people who may say, I'm gay. That might be the only language they have, but they might not mean that they want to engage in that. They may want to follow Jesus faithfully in their lives, and they're going to need your help to know, okay, I need to abstain from that lifestyle and engaging in that, and they're going to need the warmth of the Christian community so they don't feel lonely. Because if we know that the Lord calls us to one certain sexual ethic, that it is male and female as designed in Genesis, then if we're calling people who have a desire different than that to say, no, you can't have that type of relationship with the same sex, then we need to have a warmth about us. We need to be including individuals who have this struggle into our families, at our dinner tables, at our a host of different things, so that they aren't out in the cold alone. And so this is a whole church thing. We should all be community for each other. And so I just wanted to come on here very quickly and say that there is a difference between having an attraction, a same-sex attraction, but still wanting to be faithful to Jesus. You do belong in the household of faith. And the person who has the same-sex attraction, who is given into those attractions, if you look in the text where Paul talks about what people were like before they came to Christ, I believe that the homosexual is in there, and that person, that was what they were like before, and so it's a sin, and Jesus forgives all sins, and but we do have to repent. That's all of us, heterosexual, homosexual. To repent from sin means to turn away from the act of whatever it is that is not pleasing to God, that whatever it is that's not a part of his kingdom ethic, we have to turn away from it. But I want to say that there's space at the table for people who have that struggle, and there's room at God's table for people who've engaged in it, but who want Jesus more, because that's what being a Christian is about. It is about denying ourselves because we see the royalty, the splendor, the glory, the majesty of God, that he has given us eyes to see just how supreme he is to any other desire we may have. And so I just want to invite us to be inviting people, to let people know you can have those desires and still be welcomed into the household of faith and still live a life faithfully to Christ.